guys, welcome to me once again, Fisher Rob and the Novice Angler channel. Thanks for coming in and dropping in to see what I'm up to today. Well, what are we doing today? Well, I'm going to have a little look at some weights and things, imitation baits and things like that, and various ways of fastening your baits to your line. Now, a lot of times I get asked on the riverbank or up at the lake there, up at Silem where I often go, you know, some of the weights and things that I use, how do I set it all up and things like that. Well, I'm happy to try and show you. First things first, what sort of weights have you got out there? Well, you got tons, absolutely tons. Everything from lead shot, tell you what, bear with me. Just get the old tackle box open. I used to say, here's one I prepared earlier. Here's one of the Dinsmore selections. A whole pile of non-toxic. Of course, that's an important thing nowadays. You don't use your lead, use your non-toxic leads. And a whole range of sizes, treble A's, 8s, 6s, 4 BBs, whatever. And all you do is just rotate that round, take out the one you want, and then just squeeze them onto the line. You can use pliers. I've known people just use their teeth, but good selection of leads for counterbalancing some of your weights if they're not self-cocking floats and things like that. So do have a look. You may even find on the float it might say AA, 2AA, etc. So it will tell you what weights you need to actually get the float set correctly in the water, with just the tiny little tip showing above the waterline. But as you know, I do an awful lot of method feeding, a lot of ledger, a lot of bottom feeding and things like that, and there is a whole range of different weights that you can get from various outlets. So here's a tiny little 0.75, it's not quite a full ounce, little pear drop weight there, simple swivel at the top, and you of course can just pop your line through there, and you can put a lock on either side. You can either use one of these small weights here, pinch it on, but I prefer free running. As you know, I'm a little bit pernickety. If the fish breaks that line, I want them to be able to dump the weight and then quite happily swim off. They'll eject the hook and the residue line in the next couple of days, but the important thing is they're not carrying that weight around, which can snag and basically cause the fish to starve. So I'm very sort of pro, shall we say, for running a weight up and down the line. Free running, I think the terminology. Bear with me. Oops. There we go. Now another one I do think, when you set up a nice free running weight system, this is one of the Fox weights, 2.5 ounce, nice. Very good quality weights. It's got the line, so if you want to use that line loop system that some people use, it's got a perfectly good little crease at the back of the weight. You can run the line through there, and then have your swivel at the bottom, etc. But quite often I will use these little line weights, if you like, and all these are usually used for is if you've got let me see, a good length hook link between, say, a method feeder and your actual bait, then you sometimes can get a big dip or a bubble, whichever, in the line, and of course as the fish comes along looking around for its food, it can catch that, get spooked and disappear, and you've lost a possible catch of a big fish. So quite often these are used just by sliding your line through the loop at the end of the wire here, and then bending the line in half, and then all you're going to do is just slide one of these up the line over the bit of folded line until it clears. Put these down, and then just pull the other bit of line out. If you've gone right past it, even better, then it will slide onto your line, and then you can slide it up and down the line to wherever you want to locate it, and it will just pull the line down flat and keep things nice and level on the bottom. But I'm crafty. When I've got a free running weight, quite often I'll put let me see, something like that, if you can see that, little sort of bullet weight, as I call it. It's almost like a little musket ball, line through there, and I'll sort of lock it into place with one of these line weights, and that will then slide that up and down if I want to very, very slowly. But it acts as a brake on this when it's free running. Slide up the line, hit the ball, hit the little lock weight, and then move very, very slowly up the line. So again, if the fish breaks the line and this gets snagged somewhere because it's still on the line, then by having these chaps, then that will allow the line to give. This weight won't be locked against the fish and cause the fish to starve. It will very slowly just slide off the line and allow the fish to go off and continue feeding. So these are very useful for locking these free weights. But something else I often use with these are anti-tangle sleeves. You can pop an anti-tangle sleeve in there and it goes out through the bottom end. You can pull that up and it will actually stay inside the weight itself. This one's a slightly thinner one, so this one won't, but basically you can do that. Let me see, what else can we use? Helicopter sleeves. You can trim down a helicopter sleeve, pop it inside, and it gives a nice flexible bottom to the weight itself. And I'll tell you why if I've got this one to hand. Nope. So there's an example of one. Let's try and give you that. Now that's a fox weight, 2.5 ounce weight, plastic inner sleeve, and I've got a swivel coming out the bottom of that with a ring, so it'll be one of the swivels with a ring, and then I've tied my line using a 5-turn grinner knot onto that lower ring, and then a blood knot down to the hook, and I've created a D loop with a bait screw on the back of the hook itself, in this case a number 6. Now I call that the inch rig, although it's only probably about 2 inches probably. But I saw this online. There is a chap that does an inch rig because he said, I think he was getting fed up with the old carp taking the bait and swimming around with it and then just spitting it out and off they're going, so he's losing bites. So he designed a very small rig that literally the moment they take that bait, then they're going to start pulling the weight, and that's going to immediately start the initial hook in. So it gave him a much higher catch rate. So again, so you can see that's number 6 with the D loop and a knotless knot there. I've got a little blood knot on the other side to hold that really tight so it doesn't slip at all, and then a bait screw on the back of the D. Very small piece of leader. I think this is a 12-pound leader I've got on there, to a 5-turn grinner knot, to a swivel with a loop ring at the bottom. Now the whole purpose, why have I got that set up like that? Well, the beauty of that, this weight is still free running, because the first thing a carp's going to do is take this in and then don't like that and try and spit it out. They'll shake their head. The beauty of it, that then will slide straight out from the weight. The weight can slide off up the line and usually the fish is still hooked. So it gives a very positive ability to hook the fish very quickly. They're not going to take the bait and have time with a long hook length to swim around, decide they don't like it and spit it out, and you've been done by a carp or whatever. This way, the moment they take it and start to move away, they'll tag the weight and bang, you've started to hook the fish. But if they do then notice they're hooked, so they would, they're going to shake their head, out pops the swivel, and it leaves the weight free to plane off up the line. So again, if they then break the line, the weight's just going to drop off quite happily. And there are drop-off systems you can buy out there. I've seen them all over the place in shops and online, but I quite like the little arrangement that this chap came up with, and I've duplicated it, and it certainly worked very well for me too. I certainly thumbs up to him for doing that. But loads of different weights, so you've got different pair weights like so. You can have weights which are actually coated. Oh, the computer's shut down for a tick. There you go. You can have pair weights which are coated. You can have almost like an Owsley bomb, the old Owsley bomb coated to match silt or lake or river base and things like that. So a big pile of different weight sizes of those. You can have what they call box weights, which are very square orientated, literally as a bot in various weights. That one's a 1.5, I think. I used to call them the lead drop weight, which are almost sort of hexagonal as it goes around, but it's very similar to the Wolseley bomb in shape. Little hole at the top there, which you can again make that an inline lead. It can slide up and down the line, and as I said earlier, you can put a little stud, where are we, either side, like one of the little shot pellet type weights there, and then put one of the line weights either side, so that it can still free slide up and down, but much slower, and will affect as a brake. So when they take it, they'll feel the weight, shake their head, off they go with the bait, but that locking action will then start the hook into the mouth. Another aspect of it, you can, with these sort of bumps, if you like, hopefully you can see that, it's like a cylinder with a round ball type at the top, again with a little hole at the end, and you can put your line down through there, out through the bottom, do your tie to your swivel, and then when you pull that all the way back, your weight will then settle down onto that, and then your swivel will go up inside there, so it keeps everything nice and neat. And again, then when they shake the head and the swivel pops out the bottom of the weight, that is covering the swivel, and again this just planes away quite happily up and down the line as it goes. So just a little idea of how you can pop your weights on, keep them free sliding, but as I say, with that little sort of inch rig, although mine's about 2, nice little arrangement. Simple weight through to a swivel, grin a knot down a very short hook length to the back of your, in this case a number 6 wide gate by Corda, to a D-rig, and a bait screw at the bottom. So and talking about baits, of course, you've got a pile of different baits that you can have out there as well. I'm a great advocate of some of the fake baits. You can use all manner of stuff, and I've got tons here, from a boilie, lovely semi-pop-up boilie, a various selection of corn, and you've got pink maize, so you've got quite a few there. You can have fake bread. Now Corda do an awful lot of these. Again, as you guys know, I'm a great advocate of Corda products and Guru products, but one of the big companies that I use for these imitation baits is Enterprise Tackle, and Enterprise Tackle do a pile of different fake baits as well. You can have imitation caster in various colours, the sort of the gold one or the yellowy one, and then again white. So there's a whole pile of different baits. You can have orange corn and put them in little stacks of 2 and 3, they'll quite happily take it. Lime green, you know, massive range. Dumbbells, tons of stuff. Fake pellet, so loads and loads. Imitation dog biscuit, I mean the list is endless, how long you got. So fake baits, and they can be quite simply put onto a hair rig. I'm sure if you're not sure what those are, go back over some of my videos and you'll find the hair rigs that are in there. How to make a hair rig, how to make an adjustable hair rig, and just tie them on. You can use special hair ties like this one, and again they come in a range of colours, so you can have a look at the different types of baits and things like that. You can use bait bands, of course, which are similar to these are a latex bait band by Gardner, and if I can get my top off, because I always make them lovely and tight, but not always easy when your fingers are wet or cold on the banks. So I'll try and find another way of storing them, but don't know if you'll pick that out. You may just pick that out, but it's a tiny little elasticated bait band, and you can literally just stretch that over a bait and mount that to the hair. I tend to tie a hair with a band on, and then when I'm ready to actually fit it on, he says, easing down into the depth of his tackle box, he says he hasn't got it to hand. I've got a little pair of plier type things. You stretch the band on and then you just compress the pliers and it opens the band up, and you can then just slide your bait straight in there, release it, and it's on the hair. So they're very useful. Just haven't got them to hand. They're probably tucked away in one of my other boxes. So there's your fake baits, how to clamp them on, how to fit them on, a range of some of your weights, as I say, your pair weights, box weights. I do like the Foxes. They invariably come with an inner sleeve. This little inner sleeve, I haven't got any loose, or if you tap it, you can get the inner sleeve out and then leave the weight completely without the inner tubing. Or you can pop the tubing straight inside, push it home, and then get your swivel that fits that, slide that in, and then do your inch rig below that. Or again, as I said, you can modify maybe one of the bumps or a helicopter sleeve so that makes it a little bit more flexible. You can poke that inside, and then that will effectively then hold the swivel inside your weight like that, and you just put your line through to it, tie it all off, then pull it back, slide your swivel inside, and then that's a free running weight. As soon as the fish shakes its head, it's off down the line, and the fish isn't carting around 2.5 ounce weight. But because it has that initial chunk, if you like, that little jerk, that it will start the hook in, and hopefully you've got your fish. It's just a matter of landing the beastie. So that's a good selection of weights and selection of fake baits. Really, as a final note, something else that's out there on the market which might help you guys. A lot of people often say to me, how do I get my loops on the end of my hook lengths for hairs, or the end of the hook lengths to go onto the main line, always the sort of the same constant size? Well, there's a cracking couple of little things. I think it's Seymour or Seams. I think someone is Seymour, and it's a little hair rig tire system, and you can literally make yourself a loop at the end of the line. Have I got my spare drum with me? Yeah, don't say no. It's here somewhere. But if not, what I'll do, I'll be crafty. There you go. This is floater line by Corda. It's a cruiser control line. Very, very nice line that if you want to fish on the surface. But all you're going to do is, get yourself a bit of line, and you fold that in half. So you're making yourself a bit of loop at one end, and then squeeze it together. You do a simple sort of granny knot type thing. You do a loop within a loop. So you make a loop and then feed the loop through the loop that you've just made, and there you go. So now you've started to knot it, but you haven't knotted it completely. All you've done is made the loop and gone through itself. Then these little tools come into play. Now, as I say, this one I think is called Seymour. I think you can find that online. Brownings, I think this one. Browning, yes, Browning Fishing. It's another one that has one in all different directions, so that's great, of different sizes. Now, what I do is I put the larger loop over the taller pin, and then the knotting piece, the loop I've made that's ready to knot, over the smaller piece. So, and I tend to use the narrow gauge one. So we'll turn it round. The loop goes over the tall one, the knot piece goes over the small one. Slide your thumb across to it. It's difficult, turn it upside down, and then effectively you're going to start tightening up that loop and knot like so. So you then are left with a very small loop and a knot just behind it, almost ready to tighten. So then you take it off the tall one and you put your loop onto the smaller one, and you tighten the knot. So absolutely fine. Got a nice tight knot on there. So daisy, bite it sometimes. Nice tight knot. Slide that off, and then you should be able to see it against that. You can see a very small little loop there. Absolutely fine. And you can pop your bait on that, and that entire loop and knot will be hidden. Hopefully you can see that I've got it at the right angle for you. So you can imagine if you popped a green sweet corn on that, it's pretty much buried completely. Once you cut the excess off, that's going to be the only thing sitting on the line. And I think I did one on this one. I did. Again, as they say, here's one I prepared earlier. And this is a barrel, a dumbbell weight on a loop, and literally the loop there and the line straight out. The knot's not even visible, it's buried inside the bait. So absolutely fabulous. And you're ready then to slide maybe a bit of silica on, put your hook through it, slide that down so it's sitting just in the right place on the hook for yourself. Then do your knotless knot, boom, and it's on your hook, it's on your hair, and it's all knotted into place absolutely perfectly. So do have a look at those. They're a Seymour or a Brownings hair rig pullers basically, or hair rig makers. And there's other ones. I've seen one that looks a bit like a shepherd's crook. You can do that, twist it round and slip it all out, which is fair enough. Might be a little bit simpler for some people, but these two, I must admit, I use a lot. Never let me down. So there you go. So I will say, as usual, thanks very much for watching. I do appreciate you coming in. Just to give you a quick update, over 8,200 views now, 21 subscribers since I started this in last October. So I appreciate all you guys coming in, reviewing my videos. Do hit the subscribe button, and we'll catch you another time. So really, thanks again from me, Fisher Rob, and the Novice Angler channel.